How's it going? So, learning yodeling, you know, is basically learning about being constantly interruption, constant bothering, and learning about being, um, constant interruption and constant bothering is always going on. And there's no way that you can avoid it because, there's is how the yodeling is. And learning how that yodeling is, you can learn how, and there's and there's these emotions that is going to react because there's pressures on what happens. And all of that has to do with yodeling. And how there's like things that are involuntary, that you have to do and say. When you try to stress something and you can't really see it, and like there's a slipping motion and it's a lot of like falling, gliding, just anything that just doesn't sound normal, and there's always, just, it, any of that, just don't pay attention to. It's just yodeling. And I mean, all of that is an instrument that is not tuned. And it's sad, but, there's so many things that our English language is not capable of doing. And it doesn't have a way to really be respectful without fucking the person that it talks to. And not all language is like that, but English is. English is very barbaric and very ignorant. And all English looks at is our color of our skin and, our physical features before we speak. And English has nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with anything else. Probably all it looks at is fingernails, toenails, and it's just, constant gurgling and gagging and people, and just, if you run into somebody, you just engage them and you don't want to see them anymore. You have to do something. You have to swallow them. You have to, plug them. You have to, choke them, or, find someone else and choke them. You have to feed someone food and they swallow it. Or you have to go buy them a drink and they get something to drink and they swallow that. Or they have to do something and throw up, or something is going to happen. And then all we do in English is just steamroll and, just run into each other and this whole time. That's all people do because it's English. But I don't really think that Spanish is really like that, and other languages probably less than English. But anyway, yodeling, still, in America, where it's definitely not popular, because of probably, it doesn't have, like that form of influence. But, there's a definite, high and a low note that is held, and it should be in the course because that's all it can be. And it should be forced because it's forced and held down. And I think it has, there's no other way it couldn't be, because, there's something on you at all times. There's something right on you at all times. And it's something that you can't avoid. It's something that everyone does and everyone has on you. And you are always choking and you are always gagging. And, you are always taking it. And it doesn't matter what it is because you're choking on it. If there's a sandwich, you're choking on it. If there's a drink, you're choking on it. If there's a moment to take a break, you're already under. You know, when there's a pile of people and there's a tsunami, you know, someone's trying to beat somebody else. You know, somebody else is going to be way behind, and somebody is going to have this huge, giant ass, fucking huge fucking tsunami. You know, fucking go over that person. And that person in last is running like this, and they're completely screwed. You know, and falls and, you know, goes in the water and gets washed up and is choking on that very salt water. And, you know, people in front of that person, maybe too, you know, but everyone is going to go through that. You know, when you think about groups of people and just being alive, I mean, there's no way that yodeling isn't just about choking on every single thing that ever existed. You know, and anything that hasn't existed yet, you know, you're about to choke on it and probably are beginning to now. Or maybe, you know, 10 minutes from now, you'll be choking on something else. But yodeling is just about choking. And it's not just about choking, but I think that it's mostly, you know, just about, you know, taking as much as you possibly can, and it being things that you don't like, you know, that you don't really want, you know, too much of something. When you, okay, yodeling, you know, that didn't really yodel, you know, because I'm already getting plunged under, you know, it's like whack-a-mole. You know, it's also like, you know, when you go to a restaurant and you order, you know, one of those big burritos, you know, a bunch of food, and then, you know, someone asks you if you can eat that, you know, or, you know, you can, you know, and then you just do. But if there's yodeling involved and there's a, and it's fully pressed like a gas pedal going one direction that you don't want it to go to, and it goes all the way, you know, at maximum velocity. And then there's another pedal, you know, going that exact same direction but throwing you off direction, like the other direction basically, is how yodeling works. And there's also a, you know, part of that, you know, and I think those are both the same one though. I think that is probably just that one. But then there is two contrasts, you know, basically when there's yodeling, because it's like one has to go this way and one has to go this way, and there's a pull motion to where two are going this way, but one's going this way and this one's going this way, you know, and that two are going this way, you know, like, I mean, I can't really explain it very well, but it's like, I mean, it's just like looking at, I mean, it's just like having your hand like this and then it tips it like that. Upside down, it looks like it went like this and pulled it, you know. And it does both at the same time, you know, like it's pulling up, but it's also pushing down, you know, is how the yodel is. You know, it's like something slides to the right, but it slid to the left, you know, is how it works. And, you know, and it's like drowning, you know, if you can't if you can't control what the yodeling is. And yodel is also a word we can kind of take apart and understand. And, you know, yodel, you know, like, it's not that one, you know. It's not yodel, you know, it's not it's not, you know, it's not vogue, it's not rogue, you know, but, you know, I mean, there's, you know, a lot to yodeling, you know, it's like what I'm thinking, you know, and there's other things it could be. But it has a lot to do, you know, with obviously choking and, you know, also probably trying to choke the other person, you know, because they're struggling, you know, and there's a contrast between one and the other. There's up and down. There's upside down, and then there's right side up. You know, there's like winner and loser, you know, and it's like doing the same thing. It's like to really master the yodeling, you know, you can walk forwards and someone says, man, that dude's really doing good walking backwards, you know, and look at those two contrasts and how that works basically. And another thing is that the notes should change, and there should be, like I said, there should be two extremes on both sides of that shape, you know, of that pull there, you know, and, you know, like that should also have another side here with a note, you know, be like, you know, flippable. And So anyway, one thing that you have to learn basically is that, there's the two notes and extremes, like I said, and I mean, I can't really go any further with it, but I mean, I can, is, that there's, like, I mean, all of it is orchestrated, and you can see how someone is relaxed, and just trying to get comfortable, and then someone is working as hard as they can. It's two extremes. It's also playing victim with yourself. You can pick out, two extremes of people. One is a bad person, one is a good one, or like, someone is getting captured. You could be cops and robbers. It could be, prisoner and bodyguard. It could be all different types. It could be two people in an argument, but there usually is two contrasts on both sides. And then, another way to look at it is kind of like, encapsulation. How there's, like a entrapment of something when you yodel, and how the voice kind of like goes up and down, but it has to have, a contrast between the two. It can't just, not work, and there's also like I said, a swallowing motion that is really vigorous, which is, just, being able to, swallow at all times. And I mean, you have to look at this mouth, as the opposite of what it, like, when you look at those art pictures and it has like, like this will be like a mouth right here sucking on the, like that, or this has something already in it. Like, you have to look at it like that in order to learn, how that works with everything, the yodel instrument. And, it's like always swallowing something and always drinking something, and always screaming for help also is what yodeling is. And it is always screaming for help. And I mean, there's always help that's going to be screamed for. I mean, as far as I see it, there has to be screaming for help when you yodel. And once you learn, how all of that shit works, then you will realize that there's a valve in here that has a really powerful quality, which is that it can't be Tarzan and Jane, watch out for that tree. That is the only thing that it can't be. It can't be, and somebody's like, all of that shit. That's somebody slipping and falling. It's like really happening. It's like really what you've observed, is like what that is. That's something that's already happening. Is those things, is the, all of that. It should be able to just naturally flip from one to the other, and you can just, in the movie Tarzan and Jane, by the way, watch out for that tree. It's probably just a movie about a dick going in your throat. If you're one of the children that would watch the movie, because that's all it's for. Or it's just something else going in your throat. I mean, everything's in your throat already. Tree. There's a gag reflex. There's a there's a laughing instrument, that kind of pushes it away. But, there's also that, really draining, slow silence that doesn't have, yodel understanding and the instrumentation of it, which we can all understand. And just how, there's, watch out for that tree. just right here, just like this is improper. You know, and it is improper. You're not supposed to speak like that. That's not the artistic way to do it. And there's an artistic way to do it, and it is this, but you have to apply yodeling because, for one, okay, all right, it's like having feet that are just made of metal, walking, you know, when your feet actually have many more muscles, you know, and it's like having prosthetic legs. If somebody has a prosthetic leg, then yodeling is learning, like, not the yodeling part, but learning the yodeling, you know, is learning how to use a knee instead of just walk like this, you know, like stick figures, you know, and how to, you know, just do more, you know, than that. And, you know, and learning how, you know, people talk like Krusty the Clown, you know, and just talk like this and just all kinds of stuff you just can't stand, you know, and just how that is actually yodeling and how accents are yodeling and how, you know, some people talk like they have like a few pieces of food, like, oh, hi, you know, hey, hi, how are you? How are you doing? You know, this type of thing. Learn how to apply that to where the, this part right here, the little fluctuation in the back. It's like a little dick in the mouth. You know, it's, you know, I mean, it could be someone else. You know, it could be something else going on, something that you were watching, something you observed, something you're trying to avoid, and just want to make sure it's there instead of actually happening out there. But it's still in there, and you still have to destroy it, and still have to learn how to encapsulate something that, so, you know, when someone walks and they're walking like this, you know, they actually have more limbs that they can use. You know, and, you know, instead of having like one finger that does not have a center area here that could be used, you know, yodeling is like having a finger that just has like one thing like that, you know, but like has like two, you know, like that. You know, it's like you can't really move like this. You can't just like grab like this, you know. That's like, it's not that powerful to grab like that, you know. And I mean, even though it's grabbing like this, you know, and it's grabbing like this, you know, I mean, there still has to be, you know, something that can do more than just that, you know, is the yodeling. So, you know, learn, you know, how that flips, you know, you go, yodeling, you know, and the, you know, and that full emotion is really you against yourself, subconscious, fucking yourself, because you're going, like, this part right here is where you, or someone else that was you, something else was irritating it. So figure out how that works, encapsulate it, look at it like, you know, there's something in a little small container, and then figure out, you know, how to, you know, without it having a big obstruction in it, and just feel it out, empty it out, see what's in there, and like feel how all the grooves are, and then invent something, you know, that kind of ticks like a, you know, like a clock, kind of can move its locations, instead of have it to where the one yodel is just a loopy, like silly thing, you know, when you're like viewing hands and fingers and, yeah, I mean, just stuff like that, you know, that you could actually use, something you could use for the yodeling, and then you can figure out how it's not supposed to be loopy like this, and you know, when you're and you know, this little tiny little instrument, you know, right here, there's a lot going on from somewhere, you know, and it could just be these fingers. You know, but figure out how it works, and I mean, you should be able to do a lot with it. But it's basically, you know, the sound of you really when you're getting fucked or someone asks you a question, you know, because there's a crazy way to respond, and then there's one that, you know, is like more proper and, you know, pronouncing stuff. And, you know, but the funny and then the serious, you know, is like the two. I mean, it's pretty easy to notice the difference between like this and, you know, but that is the yodel. There's not a and That's two sillies. You know, you only need one instrument. You know, so you don't need a two contrasts really. I mean, you don't. I mean, it is two technical, differences, but it's not that. There's and then there's in two different ones. You know, so learning that argument, you'll realize, that it's not about going and then and all of those little tiny notes, and is your porn instrument. I mean, how else is it supposed to be explained? Because it's I mean, it seems to be where you're out there, like it's like a sex instrument. It's like you're grabbing and getting, is what it seems to me to be, or you could say a go-getter instrument, or you could say hustling instrument is just the yodeling part, Once you realize, how to make it, do more than just the yodel and the and you can realize how to make it do like, and just the singing part of that is another muscle that we have not discovered yet on how that works when it has the flap and how it, and has the two different voices in here. You can figure out that is a new instrument that no one has used yet, and no one has learned how to use it properly yet. And it is kind of retractable, and there is, like you can unlock it. It's just like a pin lock. I mean, it's just, I mean, I can't explain it any better than that, but I'm for real. Like, that is a full instrument, and I mean, all the way down to the burping I just did. I mean, it's automatic yodeling. I mean, there's, fuck me, that is just one yodel, and then there's just, that is what the yodel is replaced with. It's what it's been used at, there's an automatic, I'm going over here. It's like having a baby in you, but just the sex part, that's what babies are. So figure out how that works, and, let me know how you progress.